भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिन् इति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणि निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणि। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. I welcome all the devotees for today's Gita Pravaha session. Yesterday we discussed the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Krishna speaks about Sakama Karma and Nishkama Karma. Initially, Krishna convinced Arjuna to fight by speaking to him Gnana, knowledge of body and soul, knowledge that the soul is eternal and body is temporary. And later, he gave another perspective to motivate him to do his duty of fighting in the battle. And that was Sakama Karma perspective. So Arjuna earlier said that even if I win this war, I will not be able to enjoy. But Krishna says that even if you lose this war, you'll be able to enjoy. But when you win this battle, then you will have Hastinapur kingdom. Then you can enjoy here. Then that is Sakama perspective. But that Sakama Karma perspective is not the ultimate teaching of Bhagavad Gita. Later, Krishna just intensifies his message, makes the message more serious, and gives the Nishkama Karma perspective. He says that you perform your duties without any expectation of results. Sakama Karma is to perform your duties, responsibilities, with an expectation to enjoy the results, which is kind of self-centric, selfish. But Nishkama Karma is you perform your duty irrespective of what the result will be. Whether it is Sukha Dukha or Labha Labha or Jaya Ajaya, success or failure, victory or defeat, happiness or distress, you stick to your duty and that gives us purification. And he says about equanimity. Maintain an equanimity, equipoise disposition. Don't be overwhelmed by dualities, maintain an equanimity. Now, is there someone who behaves like this? Can anyone on this planet maintain such level of equanimity, tolerating all the dualities and seeing all the dualities on an equal plane, happiness or distress, insults or praise, criticism or praise? Is there someone? That is Arjuna's question now. Yes, such a person is called STHITA-PRAJNA. Sthita means being situated. Prajna means wisdom, right? So Sthita Prajna refers to a person who is situated in wisdom or who is a wise person. He is also called a liberated soul. While living in this material world, he is not materially entangled, right? He is living in the material world, but he is not materially entangled. He is unaffected because he is in a spiritual consciousness, right? Like I often give this example. When you are traveling on the road in a car, when there is a red signal, you have to stop. When there is a green signal, you can move ahead, right? So compare that red signal with distress. Compare that green signal with happiness. When you are on the road, red signal will give you distress and green signal will give you happiness. Means when you are in a material plane, happiness and distress will affect us. Success and failure will affect us. Criticism and praise will affect us. Victory and defeat will affect us. Happiness and distress will affect us. But when somebody is traveling in an airplane, will the red signal on the road stop him? Will the green signal on the road have any relevance to such a person who is traveling in an airplane? He doesn't get excited seeing the green signal on the road. His plane doesn't stop when he sees red signal on the road because he's on a different plane. Similarly, when we raise our consciousness to spiritual plane, then material happiness and material distress will not affect us. Material success and material failure will not affect us. When our consciousness is spiritual, when we do whatever we are doing for the service of Krishna, with, with Krishna consciousness, then the material dualities will not affect us, right? So Krishna is talking about that. That samatvam is yoga uchyate. What is yoga? Yesterday we defined. Yoga means trying to connect our consciousness with the Supreme Lord, trying to spiritualize our consciousness. When your consciousness becomes spiritual, you will be unaffected by the dualities on a material plane. That is yoga. That's samatva. You will maintain equanimity, samatva towards dualities on the material plane because you are doing yoga. You are coming to a spiritual platform. Samatvam yoga uchyate. Such a person who is a yogi, who has the samatva, is also called Jivan Mukta. Jivan means he is living in this world. Mukta means he is liberated from the entanglement of this world. Jivan Mukta, liberated soul. So, such a person is also called STHITA-PRAJNA, one who is always situated in wisdom. He will not be overwhelmed by external factors, but is always stationed on the platform of wisdom. Arjuna says, he asks a question. स्थितप्रज्ञस्य का भाषा समाधिस्तस्य केशव स्थितधीः किं प्रभाषेत किमासीत व्रजेत किम स्थितप्रज्ञस्य का भाषा. What are the symptoms of a sthita-prajna? Arjuna's question. Then kim prabhasheta means how does he speak? Means how does he receive praise and blame? How does he respond to affection and hatred? What does he say externally? How does he feel internally? Right? So, Kim Bhasha means what are his general characteristics? Kim Prabhashata means how does he speak or respond to dualities? Then, third, Kim Asita, how does he sit? Means how does he control his senses? Fourth question, how does he walk? Means how does he respond to sense objects? Basically, Arjuna asked four questions in the 54th shloka. First, what are the general characteristics of a sthita-prajna, a wise person? Second, how does he respond to different dualities in this material world? Third, how does he control his senses? Because there are a lot of sensual temptations and allurements in this world. How does he control? Then that is third. Fourth question is, how does he respond to sense objects? Right? How does he control himself? How does he respond to various sense objects? Let's see answers of Krishna one by one. How does he walk? How does he talk? How does he sit? What are his general characteristics? Four questions. Krishna speaks about the symptoms of sthita-prajna. Prajahati yada kaman sarvan parthamanogataan atmanyevatmana tushtah sthita-prajnastadotyate. Here, Krishna says, atmanyevatmana tushtah means sthita-prajna is one who is completely self-satisfied. He derives satisfaction within himself. He doesn't look for external factors for his satisfaction. Prajahati yada kaman. Kama means desires, material desires. Prajahati yada kaman means he has given up all material desires. Sarvan parthamanogatan. Oh Partha, he has given up all material desires. Sarvan means all material desires he has given up. Atmanyevatmana tushtha. He is satisfied within. Means his satisfaction is not dependent on the external factors, external excitements in this life, external enjoyments. He is very much self-sustainable person. So then, how does he respond to different dualities? Let us see. In the next shloka, Krishna says, Sthita-prajna's response to different dualities. Dukkheshu anudvigna manaha, sukheshu vigataspruha, vitaraga bhayakrodha, sthitadhir muniruchyate, yes sarvatranabhisneha, tat prapya shubhashubham, nabhinandati nadveshti, tasya prajna pratisthita. Krishna talks more about sthita-prajna. He says, Dukkheshu anudvigna manaha. When there is distress, anudvigna manaha, he doesn't get agitated. He is undisturbed by the distresses in this world, right? Then what about sukha? Sukheshu vigataspruha. He is not attached to material happiness also. He is unaffected and undisturbed by material distress. He is unaffected by material happiness. Vita raga bhaya krodha. Raga means material attachment. Bhaya means fear. Krodha means anger. Vita means he has given up all of them. He is unaffected by attachments and fears and anger in this world. Sthita Dhir Muni Ruchyate. Such a person is called Sthita Dhir Muni, a self satisfied sage, an introspective sage, a wise sage. Yaha sarvatranabhisneha tattat prapya shubhashubham. While living in this world, we may encounter shubha, sometimes we may encounter ashubha also. Sometimes there will be success, sometimes failure, sometimes good, sometimes bad, right? But Sthita Prajna is unaffected by all these dualities, right? Nabhinandati nadveshti. He will not praise them. He will not despise them. He will not hate them. Dvesha means hate. Abhinandati means appreciation. He doesn't appreciate the material happiness here. He doesn't hate the material distress here. He's neutral. He's unaffected. Hmm? Just like someone who is traveling in an airplane, he's unaffected by red signal or green signal. He doesn't praise the green signal. He doesn't hate the red signal because he's in a different plane. Similarly, when your consciousness is spiritual, Krishna conscious, you're at consciousness level, you are loving Krishna. You are experiencing the love of Krishna. That is Krishna Prema. Krishna Prema means loving Krishna and experiencing the love of Krishna. When you are on that plane, material happiness and distress have no impact on our consciousness. We may do the needful on a practical plane, but we will not be overly affected. We will not be overwhelmed. So, no bad desires, complete satisfaction, undisturbed by difficulties, not elated by happiness, freedom from fear, attachment, and anger, fixed in knowledge. Now, what about the sensual temptations in this world? In this world, although you want to be neutral, you want to be unaffected, there are some temptations, so many allurements. You want to be self controlled. Suddenly, some video on YouTube pops up. You see the thumbnail, you get attracted. Okay, you are curious. I want to see. Or some billboard advertises a new phone brand or model. Oh, you already have one, but you feel like, oh, I think I should get that. There's an allurement. Or there is some calamity that happened. You feel a little scared. There is some kind of distress or some fear or insecurity. How do we deal with all this stuff, right? So especially when there are temptations for the senses, how do we control our senses? How do we restrain our senses from responding to these alluring, tempting sense objects? Krishna gives an example of tortoise. Yada samharate chayam kurmongani vasarvashah indriyani indriyarthebhyah tasya prajna pratisthita. Just as a tortoise, kurma means tortoise, just as a tortoise withdraws its limbs within its shell whenever it sees some obstacle, similarly, a sthita prajna, a wise person, withdraws his senses, controls his senses whenever he sees some harmful sense objects. For example, doctor told you not to eat fried items, not to eat sweets, not to eat spicy items because of some health issue. If you are a sthita prajna, even if that sweet is brought in front of you, even if a fried item and spicy item is brought in front of you, you are sthita prajna. Prajna means intelligence that is given to you by the doctor that if you eat it, that is not good for your health. So with that knowledge in your mind, you will not touch it even if it comes in front. But if somebody is a weak patient, self-uncontrolled patient, even if he knows that it's not good for my health, he will go and eat it. Right? So it's not good for me, but still I am tempted to eat it. That's like lack of sthita prajna. I mean, he is not in proper intelligence. But take example of a tortoise. As soon as tortoise sees an obstacle in front, immediately tortoise withdraws its senses. The tortoise will want to protect itself. So tortoise has a shell, very hard shell. Nobody can harm a tortoise when the limbs of the tortoise are within that protective shell. But if tortoise comes outside, then it may be harmed. So tortoise knows when to withdraw, when not to withdraw. Similarly, a wise person, a devotee, a sthita prajna, a jivan mukta knows when to withdraw, when to release. When should I respond to the sense objects? When should I restrain myself from the sense objects? That sthita prajna knows. Right? Next. But point is, we cannot withdraw our senses. We cannot control our senses without having a higher taste. Let me go back to the same example. So you are hungry and some food is brought in front of you. All spicy items, fried items, sweets, and all restricted, prohibited items for you are brought in front of you. You are hungry. Naturally, you are tempted to eat it, right? But if you are self-controlled, you will not eat it. Okay, fine. You are restraining yourself from eating unhealthy food items. But do you have a healthy food item? If you don't have a healthy food item, then you will not be able to maintain your self-control for a longer time. Getting right? So the idea of spirituality is not to negate the negativity. It's not coming from minus to zero. It's coming from minus to plus, right? So it's not just rejecting sense objects, it is spiritualizing sense objects. It's not rejecting unhealthy food, it is eating healthy food, right? All our senses need some sense objects. For example, when our eyes look at a beautiful object, we may get attracted. Sometimes that attraction may not be good for us. When my nose is attracted to some fragrance, uh, and that fragrance may not be good for me. Therefore, I need to restrain myself. But do you have a better fragrance than that? A harmless fragrance, a harmless food, harmless subject matter to hear, harmless visual to see. So, we cannot restrain our senses from harmful sense objects unless the senses have harmless sense objects. Therefore, we need to develop a higher taste. Higher taste. That's what Krishna says in the next shloka. You will be able to act like a tortoise when you have a higher taste. Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehinah rasavarjam rasopyasya parandrishtva nivartate. Parandrishtva nivartate means we experience a higher taste. You are rejecting unhealthy food, but you should have some healthy food to eat also. You may reject some food which is not offered to Krishna, but you need to have some food which is Krishna Prasad. That way, uh, we we should not come to zero platform, we should come to positive platform. So negating sense objects, restraining oneself from harmful allurements and temptations in this world is great, but along with that, we should also have a positive spiritual engagement. Hmm. Next, parandrishtvani vartati. Like hamsas are there. Uh, they don't move around in filthy places. They always live in crystal clean water reservoirs. They are in mode of goodness. On the other hand, we have crows. Wherever there is garbage, they will go and sit there. They are in mode of ignorance. So from tamoguna, we should become sattvagunis and eventually transcend sattvaguna also. We should follow the example of swan and not crow. Swans are seeking essence, hamsas. But crows, they seek nonsense. They seek garbage. We need to cultivate higher taste. But the problem is, even if a Sthita-Prajna is trying to control his senses from harmful sense objects and trying to divert one's senses towards spiritual and positive objects, still, even one distracted sense can create a havoc in his spiritual life. Right? You are trying to restrain yourself from unhealthy food completely. And you are taking only healthy food, which doctor has recommended for you. But somewhere there is a temptation. Somebody comes with a pizza. Just one pizza, it's okay, no problem. Right? Today is a festival day, today is a birthday party, right? It may be harmful to you, but still, once in a while I can break a rule. One may think like that. Even one sense which is distracted can create a havoc in spiritual life. यततो ह्यपि कौन्तेय पुरुषस्य विपश्चितः इन्द्रियाणि प्रमाथीनि हरन्ति प्रसभं मनः यततो ह्यपि कौन्तेय ओ कौन्तेय ओ Arjuna yatato means even if somebody is trying so hard to control one's mind and senses purushasya vipaschita refers to a very experienced person, seasoned person, very scholarly person. Although you are a great scholar, although you are very experienced in spirituality, although you are trying your best to control your senses and mind, still indriyani pramathini, all the senses are very dangerous, very powerful. Haranti prasabham manaha, they will completely steal your mind. Completely steal your mind. Although you are trying to restrain your tongue from all allurements and out of sight, out of mind, you just stay away from uh, the feasts and sit in your small room and then eat only non-spicy khichdi according to the doctor's recommendation. Still, uh, even the thought of enjoying a pizza can just take you out of your room and then go and enjoy or something else. I'm speaking very innocent examples. Eating gulab jamun pizza is like little innocent, but there are more dangerous examples. Although you try to restrain yourself from phone, keep child lock, this and that, still some thumbnail of a YouTube may tempt us. Let me see, curiosity. Oh, what is this? Then when we get distracted, so those precious moments that can be utilized in Krishna consciousness are unnecessarily diverted towards sense enjoyment. We waste time. And the impressions that we acquire from these material sources, they will not just leave us distracted only for an hour or two. They may create long lasting impressions in the mind that we may get distracted even after 10 years by this thought, by this interaction between our senses and sense objects, right? So even one sense, if it is allowed to get distracted by sense objects, that could create a long lasting impression in the mind. We could get distracted by the thought after 5 years also, after 10 years also, probably in the next lifetime also. Right? So we need to be very careful not to allow the senses to be allured or tempted or distracted by unnecessary sense objects. And that is possible only by bhakti. Right? We need to give positive engagement to the senses. Just by controlling the senses, nothing will happen. So we need to have bhakti. That's what Krishna says here. Tani sarvani samyamya yukta asita matparaha vase ह्यस्येन्द्रियाणि tasya prajna pratisthita. So how can you control your senses effectively? Not just by restraining them. You will be able to control your senses effectively by engaging all the senses in Krishna service. Use your eyes to see the beautiful form of Krishna. Use your ears to hear Harikatha. Use your nose to smell the tulasi leaves and flowers offered to Krishna's lotus feet. Right? Similarly, use your tongue to chant the Lord's names. Use your tongue to taste Krishna Prasadam. Thus, when you have sufficient engagement for your senses in a spiritual way, then you can protect yourself from material allurements. That's why Krishna says Mat Paraha. Mat means me, that is Krishna. Paraha means be dedicated to, right? Only a Matpara devotee, only someone who is dedicated to Krishna consciousness, Krishna, can restrain oneself from sense objects. Sense control is possible only by devotion to Krishna. This is a Bhakti Yoga shloka, right? When only by Krishna Bhakti we can be protected from all allurements and temptations and tribulations caused by distracted senses. जिह्वे कीर्तय केशवं मुररिपुं चेतो भज श्रीधरं पाणिद्वन्द्वसमर्चयाच्युतकथाः श्रोत्रद्वयत्वं शृणु कृष्णं लोकयलोचनद्वय हरेर्गच्छाङ्घ्रियुग्मालयं जिघ्रघ्राणमुकुन्दपादतुलसीं मूर्धन्यमाधोक्षजम्. Allow your senses to function. You cannot restrain your senses. You cannot keep quiet. You cannot make your senses inactive. It's impossible. As long as the soul is there in the body has to animate, right? But let the body animate in a spiritual way, in a positive way, in a harmless way. Let's allow our senses to contact with spiritualized sense objects, right? Let our mind think of spiritual sense objects, right? Not material sense objects. So that's the message here. Matparaha is the key word in this whole section. Be dedicated to Krishna. Now, what if you don't do so? Then Krishna speaks about different stages of fall down. If you don't restrain your mind, if you don't restrain your senses, if you don't divert your senses and mind towards something positive, something useful, something beneficial, what's going to happen? Let's see. The problems with distracted and uncontrolled mind. ध्यायतो विषयान् पुंसः संगस्तेषूपजायते संगात् संजायते कामः कामात् क्रोधोऽभिजायते क्रोधात् भवति सम्मोहः, सम्मोहात् स्मृतिविभ्रमः, स्मृतिभ्रंशात् बुद्धिनाशो, बुद्धिनाशात् प्रणश्यति. These are 8 stages of fall down. First, dhyayato vishayan pumsaha. Dhyana means you meditate. Meditation means deep thinking. You deeply think of some sense object. Then sangasteshopajayate. That deep thinking, meditation will create a great attachment in the mind. And sangat sanjayate kama. That attachment in the mind will become an intense desire, kama. First dhyana, next is sanga, then kama. And if your kama is not fulfilled, the next step is krodha. Kamat krodho bhijayate is 1, 2, 3, 4 different steps of fall down. Krodhat bhavati sammoha. That krodha or anger will lead into sammoha, delusion. Delusion means complete derangement of the mind. You are confused, bewildered. Sammoha smriti vibhramaha. In that sammoha, you will lose your smriti, your memory. You will lose your memory. And smriti vibhramshat buddhinasho, then our intelligence is lost. Buddhinashat pranasyati, then we will fall down. So when we don't control your mind from unnecessary thoughts, mind may have so many things: thoughts, feelings, desires, emotions, attachments, aversions. All these are going on in the mind constantly because of so many sensual impressions, right? So if you don't control them, those thoughts will become attachments, attachments will become desires, desires, when they are not fulfilled, they'll become anger, and that will lead to later stages of fall down, as we have seen the 8 steps of fall down here. So first, dhyana, contemplation. Second, sanga, attachment. Third is desire. When desire is not fulfilled, anger. And anger leads to confusion, sammoha. It leads to smriti vibhrama, loss of memory. And that leads to loss of intelligence, buddhi, nasha. Then pranasati, failure, fall down. These are the 8 ways in which uncontrolled mind can ruin us, ruin our spiritual life. So we need to control our senses. So how does we can engage our senses in a positive way, but we need to restrain our senses from coming in contact with negative sense objects. Next, Krishna says, Indriyanam hi charatam yanmano nuvidhiyate tadasya harati pragnam vayur navam imam bhasi. Vayur navam iva ambhasi. Ambhasi means water. Vayu means wind. And Nava means a ship. Sometimes when a ship is traveling on a ocean, in an ocean, because of intense winds, the ship may lose its balance. The ship may even get drowned also. Same thing is with our spirituality, our yoga path. In our yoga path, if we don't control our senses, even one of the roaming senses, indriyanam vicharata means even one of the distracted senses on which the mind focuses, yan mano anuvidhiyate, on which the mind focuses, can carry away our intelligence. Just like a strong wind sweeps away a boat in the water. Very strong statements Krishna is making in this chapter. So don't allow your senses to get overly agitated. So you may be sitting in a class, suddenly one thought of, for example, this young students in colleges, teenagers, they may sit in a class. They're sincerely hearing the class. Suddenly their mind may get diverted to, say, young boys or young girls around, and their mind is thinking of them, uh, and they completely lose focus on their academics, not just in that one period, 1 hour. It could be a distraction for a week or an year. Entire semester is gone, entire year may be gone because of some one little distraction. So because of that sensual distractions or any other distractions, people will lose their valuable time and energy, right? But that self-control is possible only by Krishna Bhakti, Mat Paraha. Krishna says this, Mat Paraha. You will be able to control your senses or mind only by diverting the senses and mind towards Krishna. If the diversion is not there, even one of the agitated senses can carry away the intelligence for a permanent distraction. What happens is when somebody has a desire on a sensory platform, mind starts thinking too much about it, and intelligence starts planning for it. Intelligence will plan how to fulfill that desire of the mind. And how did the mind get that desire? Because of senses coming in contact with sense objects. In the next chapter, third chapter, Krishna describes how to control that mind, especially how to control that lust. When we come there, we'll discuss in greater detail. But a connected statement here is, you know that popular body chariot analogy? The human body is compared to a chariot driven by 5 horses. And these 5 horses are like the 5 senses. And the reins, the ropes, which are tying the horses are compared to mind. And the driver who is holding the ropes is compared to intelligence. And the passenger is the soul. So horses are the 5 senses, ropes are the mind, and the driver is the intelligence. So mind is between the senses and intelligence. If the senses are distracted, means the horses are distracted, and if the mind doesn't control the senses, mind also, the rope also will be pulled along with the horses. And if the driver is weak, then driver also will fall into ditch. So we should not allow the senses to distract the mind. We should not allow the mind to overpower the intelligence. Ideally, when the driver is strong, he will hold the ropes nicely and he will control the horses properly. Means when the intelligence is strong, that strengthened intelligence will control the mind, and that strong mind, spiritualized mind, will control the senses. But the problem is senses are controlling the mind. Senses are passing so many visual impressions into the mind, sensory impressions into the mind. Mind is developing desires, and intelligence is facilitating those desires. But it should be the other way around. When we sharpen the intelligence by studying Bhagavad Gita, by hearing from wise people, that strong intelligence will control the mind and senses. Otherwise, senses will control the mind and intelligence, the other way around. For all this, Matpara is important, being rooted in Krishna. Now, Krishna speaks a very important point. Ya nisha sarva bhutanam tasyam jagarti samyami tas yasyam jagarti bhutani ya nisha pasyato munehe. For a sthita prajna, for someone who is very wise, situated in wisdom and intelligence, for such a person, there is a proper schedule, there is a discipline in his activities, in his thoughts. So, when everybody is sleeping, this Sthita Prajna will wake up. When everybody is waking up, he will sleep. What does it mean? What is night for all beings is the time of awakening for a Sthita Prajna, self-controlled person. And what is time of awakening for all beings is night for an introspective Sthita Prajna sage. Means there are many people in this world who become very active in the night and they sleep early in the morning. When do you sleep? Recently, there's one college boy who came to our GEV. He said that my friends, my classmates sleep at 3 a.m. in the morning or 4 a.m. in the morning. And when I tell them that I sleep around 10 o'clock, they become surprised. So throughout the night, they're active. Early in the morning, say 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock, they'll sleep and they'll get up at 7 o'clock or whatever, 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock, like that. Then they will take breakfast. Breakfast and lunchtime will merge many times. uh, Sometimes they may not even take a bath. Without taking bath, they will eat, they will evacuate, they will do all things. It's like very unclean habits. But a sthita prajna, a wise person, sleeps on time and wakes up on time. Like uh, early morning hours are in sattva gun. They are in mode of goodness. They are good for spiritual practices. They are good for learning. They are good for education. They are good for meditation. They are good for chanting. They are good for worship. So early morning hours we should not miss. Say morning, say 4 o'clock till 7 o'clock, something like that, right? So that's the time which is very precious time of the day. There we need to do some positive and spiritual activities. And Sthita Prajna, or one who is practicing to be Sthita Prajna, will utilize those morning hours nicely. Then as the sun rises more and he becomes hotter, then mode of passion sets in during the day. And that mode of passion is required for creative activities. And while the whole world wakes up, he sleeps. Means whole world in the sense that those who are in tamogun. Those who are in tamogun become active during the night. Those who are in Sattvagun become active during the early morning hours. So early morning hours are time for spiritual activities, meditation, learning, and cultivating good intelligence, and chanting and worship. So, and during the daytime, when the sun is very hot, so that's a time of passion, Rajogun, where you can do your activity, your work. The night time is meant for sleeping. Those who are active in the night are technically called Nishachara. Nishi means night. Chara means one who moves in the night, right? One who becomes active in the night. Nishachara. Traditionally, in our scriptures, Nishachara word is used to indicate demons. So Lord Ramachandra killed the king of Nishacharas. There's a beautiful shloka in the Venkateswara Suprabhatam also. Anyways, Nishachara means one who wanders in the night, one who becomes active in the night. But Sthita-Prajna is not a Nishachara. He becomes active in the early morning. He sleeps around after sunset, maybe 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock, whatever time he sleeps, and gets up in the Brahma Muhurta and then does some spiritual activities. So such a person will be able to control the mind nicely. Last shloka. Apuryamanam achala pratishtham samudramapah pravishanti yadvat tadvat kamayam pravishanti sarve sa shantimapnoti na kama kamim. Apuryamanam achala pratishtham samudramapah. Samudra means an ocean. Apaha pravishanti yadvat. Into the ocean, so many rivers enter. Right, especially during monsoon, so much water from so many rivers is entering the ocean, but the ocean is unaffected, right? The ocean remains unaffected. The ocean is always still, calm, peaceful, gambhira, deep, although it's being filled with so many rivers that enter it. Similarly, a sthita prajna is always peaceful, undisturbed, calm, deep, and grave by the incessant flow of desires, right? So one who strives to satisfy such desires is always agitated, but one who is very calm and composed when desires come and go, such a person is called Sthita-Prajna. So Sthita-Prajna is one who has given up all unnecessary sense objects. He is without any material desires. He has unlimited spiritual desires to serve the Lord. He is enjoying spiritual sense objects, but not material sense objects. He is freed from all possessiveness. He is unaffected by and undisturbed by sensually impressions. He is devoid of any false ego. Such a person can attain real peace. And what is the destination of a Sthita Prajna? Yesham Brahmi Sthitihi Partha. Our Krishna concludes this chapter saying that such a Sthita Prajna will definitely attain spiritual realm. He will attain godly life. Right? And if one is thus situated, even at the hour of death, one is sure to enter the kingdom of God and Brahma Nirvana Mrichyati. Such a person can easily attain a spiritual destination. So these are some qualities of Sthita Prajna. In the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, in the first 10 shlokas, we have seen Arjuna's further confusions and his acceptance of Krishna as his Guru. Then from 11th shloka till 30th shloka, in 20 shlokas we have seen Atma Gnana, or the knowledge of soul and body. From 31st shloka till 37th shloka we have seen Sakama Karma, doing your duties with a desire to enjoy the results. And from 38th shloka till 53rd shloka we have seen Nishkama Karma, means doing your duty responsibly without any attachment to the results, but doing it as a matter of duty. And last section, 53rd shloka till 72nd shloka, 54th shloka till 72nd shloka, we have seen the qualities of Sthita Prajna, who is able to act on the platform of Nishkama Karma. In fact, he is able to act on the platform of Bhakti. He is a very wise person, rooted in wisdom. He doesn't get allured by sensory impressions in this world. He is unaffected by sense objects here. He is unaffected by all the temptations and tribulations in this world. He is very deep. He is self-satisfied. He looks within. And the topmost quality of Sthita Prajna is Mat Paraha. Mat refers to Krishna. Para means dedication. So the topmost quality of a Sthita Prajna is complete dedication to Krishna. And on the basis of that complete dedication to Krishna Bhakti, he exhibits all other qualities of self-control, mind control, sense control, and wisdom, and withdrawing senses whenever there are harmful sense objects, and many other things that we discussed today. Thank you very much. Tomorrow we will begin the third chapter of Bhagavad Gita, which is Karma Yoga, which is a little technical, and we will discuss it for 2 days. Thank you very much. Shrimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.